What if I told you your biggest enemy in trading isn't the market, the brokers, or your strategy? It's you? Yeah. The truth is, most traders lose not because they can't read charts, but because they can't read themselves. You see, behind every blown account, every emotional entry, every revenge trade, there's a hidden psychological law at play, a law that silently controls how you think, act, and react in the markets. This isn't about indicators or fancy setups. This is about you versus your own mind. Because let's be honest, how many times have you promised yourself to stay disciplined, only to break your rule 5 minutes later? How many times did you close a trade too early, or jump into one you knew you shouldn't? And how many times have you watched the market move exactly how you predicted, right after you got stopped out? You see, trading isn't a game of skill, it's a game of emotional control, and that's exactly what this video is about. In the hidden law of trading psychology, you're not just going to learn what separates the 5% of profitable traders from the rest. You're going to understand why. You'll discover the invisible patterns that drive your decisions, the mental traps that sabotage your growth, and the subtle shifts that can completely reprogram how you see the market. And yourself. Because once you master your mind, the charts suddenly start to make sense. Once you stop fighting your emotions, your results begin to stabilize. And once you understand the hidden laws behind trading psychology, you'll never trade the same way again. This video is not motivational fluff. It's a psychological roadmap built from real experiences, brutal lessons, and 20 years of trading in the trenches. So if you've ever asked yourself, why can't I stay consistent? Why do I keep repeating the same mistakes? Why does trading feel like an emotional roller coaster? Then you're in the right place. Sit back, put on your headphones, and let's dive deep, beneath the charts, beneath the strategies, into the mind of a trader. Because until you master yourself, you'll never master the market. Chapter 1. The battle inside your mind. The market doesn't beat you. Your emotions do. Let's be honest. If you've been trading for any length of time, you've felt it. That pounding heart, right before entering a trade. That rush of excitement when you're in profit. That sinking, gut-twisting pain when your stop-loss gets hit. You tell yourself you'll stay calm next time, but somehow you don't. You make the same emotional mistakes over and over again. And then you start thinking, maybe I'm just not made for this. But the truth is, it's not the market that's beating you. It's your own mind. Most traders think trading is about strategy. They spend months trying to find the perfect indicator, the holy grail setup, or the secret YouTube strategy that will finally make them consistent. But they miss the biggest truth of all. Strategy only works when your psychology allows it to. A losing trader can take a winning strategy and destroy it with emotions. A winning trader can take an average strategy and turn it into gold through discipline. That's the difference. When you press that buy or sell button, you're not just placing a trade. You're revealing who you are. Your fears, your habits, your impulses, your patience, your belief system. Every click is a reflection of your inner world. I remember my first few years of trading. I wasn't short on strategies. I had dozens. RSI divergence, Fibonacci retracements, moving average crossovers. You name it, I tried it. But every time I'd get a few wins, I'd get overconfident and go all in. And when I'd lose, I'd double down trying to make the money back. It was an emotional roller coaster. It took me years to realize the pattern wasn't in the charts. The pattern was in me. That's when I started studying not the market, but the mind. Our brains are wired for survival, not for trading. When we see danger, like a red candle dropping fast, our amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, triggers the fight or flight response. Your body releases adrenaline, your heart rate increases, and your rational thinking shuts down. It's a biological reaction meant to protect you in the wild, not to help you hold your trade while price retraces 20 pips. When you're in profit, your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical. You start feeling invincible. That's when traders make their worst mistakes. Moving stops, increasing risk, ignoring rules. The same chemical that makes you feel good also blinds you from reality. In trading, the brain becomes both your biggest weapon and your greatest enemy. One of the most dangerous emotions in trading is fear. Fear of losing, fear of missing out, fear of being wrong. Fear makes you hesitate to take good setups, close trades too early, or avoid risk entirely. It makes you overthink, overanalyze, and doubt your plan. Greed, on the other hand, whispers lies in your ear. It tells you, hold it a little longer, you can make more. Or worse, let's double the position, this one can't lose. That's how small profits turn into big losses and how discipline turns into disaster. And then there's the need to be right, the hidden ego inside every trader. The moment you tie your self-worth to the outcome of a trade, you're done. You'll start defending losing positions, refusing to cut losses because it will come back. You won't be able to admit you were wrong, because that would hurt your ego more than losing money. But the market doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't care about your emotions, your hopes, or your fears. It rewards only logic and punishes emotion every single time. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I'll be disciplined from now on, only to break your rules the very next day? It's not that you don't know what to do, it's that your brain resists the discomfort of discipline. Every time you face uncertainty, your mind tries to escape it. That's why traders jump from one strategy to another. It's not about finding a better system. It's about avoiding the emotional pain of losing. You might not realize it, but most of your trading decisions are emotional, not logical. When you skip a setup because you don't feel right, that's emotion. When you take revenge trades because you want to get it back, that's emotion. When you hold a loser hoping it will turn around, that's emotion. The real war is never on the charts. It's in your head. The market is a mirror. It shows you your deepest weaknesses in the most brutal way possible. If you're impatient, it will make you wait. If you're greedy, it will punish your greed. If you're fearful, it will feed that fear until you break. Most traders quit, not because they can't learn charts, but because they can't face themselves. The truth is, you don't need more indicators. You need more self-awareness. You need to understand what triggers your emotions, how to control your state, and how to stay neutral when everything inside you wants to panic or celebrate. Here's what changed my trading forever. I stopped asking, what's the market going to do? And I started asking, what am I going to do when the market does what it always does? Because the market is chaos, but your reaction doesn't have to be. Professional traders don't control outcomes, they control responses. That's their edge. When the average trader panics, the pro breathes. When the average trader reacts, the pro observes. When the average trader chases, the pro waits. That calmness doesn't come from talent. It comes from training the mind to stay neutral under pressure. One of the most powerful things I learned came from a trader who had been profitable for over 15 years. He said, trading isn't about predicting. It's about responding with consistency. That hit me hard, because most of us come into trading thinking it's about finding the next big move. We chase setups, signals, gurus, anything that promises certainty. But markets aren't about certainty. They're about probability. And probability only works if your emotions don't interfere. If you can stay calm when you're losing and humble when you're winning, you've already beaten 90% of traders out there. I'll give you a real example. There was a trader I coached years ago named Daniel. He was smart, analytical, and technically skilled. But every time he lost 2 trades in a row, he'd blow his account. Not because of his strategy, but because he couldn't handle emotional pain. He'd double his position to make it back and end up losing twice as much. We worked on one thing, not his strategy, but his emotional patterns. I told him, every time you feel anger or fear after a trade, step away from the screen. Don't trade. Just write down what you feel. It sounded simple, but that one exercise changed his entire trading life. Within a few months, he stopped revenge trading. He stopped doubling his risk. His losses became controlled. His profits became consistent. He didn't become smarter. He became emotionally aware. That's the power of mastering your mind. You see, trading is less about numbers and more about behavioral conditioning. Your job as a trader is to reprogram your brain to operate under stress without losing logic, to replace emotional impulses with structured responses. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your level of mental conditioning. If your conditioning is weak, emotions will always win. If your conditioning is strong, emotions will still come, but they won't control you. So, how do you start winning the battle inside your mind? You start by slowing down. You start by noticing your emotional triggers. You start by becoming brutally honest with yourself. When you're tempted to overtrade, pause. Ask, what am I feeling right now? When you're afraid to take a valid setup, ask, am I afraid of losing money or afraid of being wrong? When you win big, ask, am I thinking clearly or am I high on dopamine? Every time you question your emotion, you weaken its power. At the end of the day, trading is not about perfection. You'll never eliminate fear or greed completely. The goal is to recognize them fast and act logically anyway. The best traders aren't emotionless. They're emotionally intelligent. They've trained their minds to separate feelings from actions. They've accepted that losses are part of the game. They've realized that their biggest edge isn't their setup. It's their state of mind. Trading mastery begins when you stop blaming the market and start observing yourself. Every blown account, every emotional trade, every late-night regret, it's all feedback. It's the market showing you where you still need control. And once you master that control, you'll notice something magical. Your trading won't just improve. Your life will. Because the same discipline that helps you hold through a retracement will help you stay calm in real-life challenges. The same patience that keeps you from chasing a setup will help you make better long-term decisions. Trading, when done right, becomes a mirror for personal growth. The market doesn't punish you for being wrong. It punishes you for staying wrong. When you start mastering your emotions, when you finally win the battle inside your mind, that's the moment. The game changes forever. That's when you stop trading for excitement and start trading for freedom. That's when trading becomes not chaos, but art. And from that moment on, the market no longer beats you because you've already beaten yourself. Because you've already beaten yourself. Chapter 2. The Law of Emotional Balance. Trading success begins when emotions stop dictating your actions. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a day where everything started fine? You opened your charts, followed your plan, and placed a clean trade. Then one loss led to another, and suddenly you're doing things you swore you'd never do again. You widen your stop. You take trades that aren't in your setup. You add more lots, telling yourself you'll make it back. Within an hour, your calm turns into chaos. Every trader has lived this day. And if you're honest, you've probably lived it more than once. That's the exact moment where emotional balance separates professionals from everyone else. It's not that profitable traders don't feel fear or frustration. They do. The difference is, they don't let emotions drive their behavior. They feel the emotion but act with logic. That balance between emotion and execution is what keeps them consistent when others lose control. When I first started trading, I thought the goal was to be emotionless, to trade like a robot. I tried to suppress everything: fear, greed, excitement, even joy. But that didn't work. The more I resisted emotions, the stronger they became. I'd hold it in for days. Then one bad trade would trigger a meltdown. I'd slam the keyboard, curse the chart, and take a revenge trade that always ended the same way. Another loss. It took me years to realize. Emotions aren't the enemy. Emotional reactions are. You can't get rid of emotions. They're hardwired into your brain. What you can do is learn to regulate them. You can learn to use emotions as information, not instructions. Fear tells you that something feels uncertain. Greed tells you that you want more. Frustration tells you that you're losing control. These are not bad signals. They're just data. The real skill is learning to interpret that data correctly. The science backs this up. When you face risk, your brain activates the amygdala, the part responsible for emotional responses. It floods your body with adrenaline and cortisol, preparing you to fight, run, or freeze. That's great if you're facing a wild animal, but in front of a trading screen, it's a disaster. The logical part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, temporarily shuts down, reducing your ability to think clearly or follow rules. That's why you can have the best trading plan in the world and still break it in seconds. Your brain literally shifts into survival mode. What professional traders do differently isn't that they're immune to this process. They just recognize it faster and recover sooner. They train their nervous system to stay regulated even under stress. That's emotional balance. I once mentored a trader named Alex who struggled with this exact problem. His setups were solid, but every time he took 2 consecutive losses, he'd spiral into emotional trading. One afternoon, he messaged me in frustration, saying, "I don't get it. I know exactly what I'm doing wrong while I'm doing it, and I still can't stop." I told him something I wish I'd learned earlier. You can't stop an emotion. You can only interrupt its pattern. So we built a rule. Every time Alex felt his heart rate rise or his breathing change during a session, he had to physically stand up, walk away, and breathe for 2 minutes before touching the mouse again. The goal wasn't to calm down completely, it was just to pause the emotional loop. Within a month, his results improved. Not because his strategy got better, but because his self-control did. That's what trading really is. A mirror showing you how emotionally disciplined you are. Here's the truth. Markets will always be uncertain. You can't control what price does. You can't predict when news will hit or when liquidity will vanish. But you can control your state. You can control your breathing, your thoughts, your responses. The law of emotional balance says this: your external results will always reflect your internal stability. If you're calm, your trading decisions will be measured and precise. If you're chaotic inside, your trading will mirror that chaos. Think about it like flying a plane. The sky can be turbulent, but a good pilot doesn't panic. They trust their instruments. They focus on procedure. A bad pilot, on the other hand, reacts emotionally, pulling the controls too hard, overcorrecting and making things worse. Most traders are emotional pilots flying through market turbulence without trusting their instruments. Your instruments are your trading plan, your risk management, your journal. They exist so you don't have to depend on emotion in the moment. One of the most damaging emotions in trading is tilt, a term borrowed from poker. Tilt happens when frustration or anger overrides logic. You lose one trade, then take another impulsively, not because it fits your plan, but because you want to win back control. Tilt is emotional revenge against the market. But the market isn't your enemy. It's just a mirror reflecting your mindset. If you've ever found yourself saying, "The market is against me," or "It's like it knows where my stop is," that's tilt talking. The market doesn't know you exist. You're just projecting your frustration onto it. Here's what professionals do differently. They don't trade when they're emotionally tilted. They have a cutoff point. They accept emotional fatigue as a signal to stop, not a challenge to prove themselves. Amateurs keep trading until they blow up. Pros stop trading the moment they feel emotional imbalance. But let's get practical. How do you actually build emotional balance? It starts outside of trading. If your real life is stressful, chaotic, or disorganized, your trading will be the same. You can't be emotionally unstable all day and suddenly expect to become calm the moment you open MetaTrader. Your lifestyle builds your emotional baseline. Sleep, exercise, nutrition. These aren't luxuries. They're performance tools. When your body is tired or your mind is overloaded, your emotional tolerance shrinks. That's when fear and frustration take over. In other words, emotional balance begins before the chart opens. For example, I meditate every morning before I trade, not because I'm trying to be spiritual, but because it's training for my nervous system. 5 minutes of slow breathing and observation every day conditions my brain to stay calm under pressure. Over time, that calm becomes my default state, even when a trade moves against me. Some traders use visualization. They rehearse emotional situations in their mind before they happen. Losing streaks, big wins, market volatility. The idea is to experience those emotions in a safe, controlled way, so that when they occur in real life, the brain doesn't panic. It recognizes the pattern and stays steady. That's what athletes and soldiers do. They train their emotions before the real moment comes. Another key to emotional balance is self-awareness. You can't manage what you don't notice. Most traders don't realize they're emotional until they've already made the mistake. That's why journaling is such a powerful tool. Not just writing down trades, but documenting how you felt during them. Were you anxious? Confident? Rushed? Bored? Over time, patterns emerge. You start to see that your worst decisions come from specific emotional states. Once you recognize the pattern, you can intervene before it happens. For example, one trader I worked with realized that every time he traded while tired from his day job, he forced trades that weren't there. Once he noticed that, he stopped trading after long work days. His win rate improved instantly, not because he learned a new setup, but because he removed emotional vulnerability. Awareness creates control. Let's talk about something few people mention: emotional high. Everyone warns you about fear, but excitement can be just as dangerous. After a big win, dopamine floods your system. You feel unstoppable. That's when traders take bonus trades that don't fit their plan. They risk more, thinking they're on a hot streak. Then they lose it all back, and sometimes more. If you don't learn to manage your emotional highs, your lows will manage you. The best traders treat both wins and losses the same. They celebrate neither. They record the trade, analyze it, and move on. That neutrality feels boring to most beginners, but boredom is the foundation of consistency. Trading isn't supposed to feel thrilling. If it does, you're probably taking too much risk. There's a moment every trader must reach to evolve, a moment of total acceptance. Acceptance that losses are part of the game. Acceptance that you'll never control the market. Acceptance that your job isn't to predict, but to execute with discipline. When you reach that point, emotional balance becomes natural. You stop fighting the market and start flowing with it. You stop needing to be right and start focusing on being consistent. That's when trading becomes peaceful, even when it's uncertain. I remember one particular morning that defined this lesson for me. I was short on the S&P 500, everything lined up perfectly. My setup, the entry, even volume confirmed. Then out of nowhere, news dropped, and the market spiked 30 points against me. My stop got hit instantly. The old me would have lost control. But that day, I just sat there. I didn't move. I breathed. I reminded myself, this is just one trade out of thousands. I reviewed my plan, found no mistake, and closed the platform. No revenge trade, no anger, just calm acceptance. The next day, I came back, saw a similar setup, took it with the same risk, and it worked beautifully. That single day taught me more about emotional balance than any book or course ever could. That's the level of control you need. Not the control over the market, but over yourself. The law of emotional balance isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about building such strong self-awareness that emotions lose their power to control you. Chapter 3. Reprogramming the Trader's Identity. You can't outperform the story you tell yourself. Let me tell you something that might sting a little. Your trading results have nothing to do with your strategy, indicators, or that new course you bought last month. The real game isn't on your charts. It's in your head. Specifically, it's in the story you tell yourself every single day. You can't trade like a professional if deep down you still believe you're a loser who always messes up. You can't stay disciplined if you keep identifying as someone who lacks patience. You can't become consistent if your inner voice whispers, "I'll never get this right." Most traders try to change their behavior. Better entries, tighter stops, more screen time. But they never change their identity. They keep operating from the same mental blueprint that caused all their mistakes in the first place. That's like trying to install a new app on a corrupted operating system. It might work for a few minutes, but eventually, everything crashes again. The hidden loop of identity. Every trader runs on an invisible loop. Belief, behavior, result, reinforcement. You believe you're undisciplined. You act impulsively. You lose. That loss reinforces your belief, and then it loops again. This is why you can have a perfect strategy and still fail. The problem isn't in your plan. It's in your programming. Imagine a trader named Ryan. Ryan has been trading for 3 years. Every time he hits a winning streak, he starts feeling like he's on top of the world. He increases his position size, breaks his own rules, and within a few trades, wipes out weeks of progress. Then he beats himself up, takes a break, and promises to be more disciplined next time. The issue? Ryan doesn't see himself as a consistent trader. He sees himself as a reckless one who's trying to become disciplined. But identity always wins. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. Until Ryan sees himself differently, until his story changes, his results won't. The story you tell. Yourself, your mind is like a movie director, and you are both the actor and the audience. Every day, you play out scenes that fit your internal script. If your inner narrative says, "I'm not consistent," your brain will subconsciously look for ways to prove that story true. It's called confirmation bias. You'll notice every time you break a rule, but you'll ignore the days you followed your plan perfectly. Most traders don't realize this. They think they're fighting the market, but they're actually fighting their own story. If you grew up in an environment where risk was seen as dangerous, you'll probably trade scared. If your self-worth is tied to your win rate, you'll feel worthless during a drawdown. If you always had to prove yourself to others, you'll chase trades just to feel validated. Trading isn't just charts and candles. It's a mirror reflecting your deepest beliefs about yourself. Reprogramming begins with awareness. You can't rewrite a story you don't realize you're telling. The first step in reprogramming your trader identity is brutal honesty. Ask yourself, what do I truly believe about myself as a trader? What stories do I repeat when things go wrong? What labels have I attached to myself? And how are they shaping my results? When I started trading 20 years ago, I used to say, "I'm just not patient enough for this game." That one sentence destroyed me for years. Every time I saw a setup forming, I felt this urge to jump in early, because that's what an impatient trader does. My results didn't improve until I caught that story. Once I stopped identifying as impatient and started seeing myself as a trader who waits for high-quality setups, everything changed. My actions followed my new identity. Identity is built through repetition. Here's the truth. You don't fake a new identity. You build it, one repetition at a time. If you want to become a disciplined trader, act like one, even when it feels fake, especially when it feels fake. Because your brain learns through repetition, not inspiration. Every time you follow your plan, you cast a vote for the trader you want to become. You don't need to win every trade. You just need to win enough internal votes to make the new identity feel real. Over time, discipline becomes your default. You stop trying to control yourself because the identity of a disciplined trader becomes part of your self-image. Environment shapes identity. Your environment silently programs your mind every day. If your trading desk is cluttered, Your mind will feel cluttered. If you hang out in Discord groups full of gamblers bragging about their 200% flips, you'll start trading like them, even if you know better. If you're surrounded by people who treat trading like a casino, consistency will feel boring, and you'll crave chaos. You can't build a professional identity in an amateur environment. Want to become a consistent trader? Build an environment that supports it. Clean workspace, quiet time, journaling routine, community of disciplined traders who hold you accountable. You are not just the sum of your choices. You are also the sum of your surroundings. Accountability, the mirror. You avoid. Let's be real. Most traders hate accountability because it exposes their inconsistencies. But accountability is how you rewire your identity faster. When you share your plan with a mentor or trading partner and commit to following it, you create external pressure that reinforces your internal story. Every time you keep your word, your brain updates its identity. I'm someone who does what I say. And that's the foundation of self-trust, something 90% of traders lack. Without self-trust, you'll second-guess every decision. You'll move stop losses, close trades too early, or hesitate when opportunity appears. But when you trust yourself, your actions align with your plan. Every consistent trader I've met had one thing in common: radical self-accountability. They didn't make excuses. They didn't play victim. They treated trading as a mirror for personal growth. Becoming versus pretending. There's a huge difference between pretending to be a great trader and becoming one. Pretending is motivational. You say affirmations. You write, "I'm a millionaire trader" on sticky notes. But deep down, you don't believe it. Becoming is practical. You do the boring, consistent work that slowly shifts your self-image until the affirmation becomes true. Identity change isn't about hyping yourself up. It's about aligning your behavior with your desired identity until your brain stops resisting. That means journaling, even when you don't feel like it. That means accepting losing trades without emotional collapse. That means being more committed to your process than your need to be right. You're not faking it. You're training it. The turning point. Every trader has a breaking point. That moment when they finally realize the problem isn't the market. It's them. Mine came after losing almost 40% of my account in a single week. I had a perfect system, but I kept breaking my rules. One night, I looked at my trading journal and realized something terrifying. I wasn't a trader trying to be disciplined. I was an undisciplined person trying to trade. That was my turning point. I stopped focusing on profits and started working on my identity. I became obsessed with consistency. I celebrated rule following more than winning trades. I rewired how I saw myself. Within months, my results changed. Not because my system improved, but because I did. You don't trade the market. You trade your beliefs. The market doesn't reward skill. It rewards alignment between your beliefs, your identity, and your behavior. You can't hold winning trades if your self-image screams, "You don't deserve success." You can't stay patient if your identity depends on proving something. You can't grow your account if you secretly fear losing money. Reprogramming your identity isn't just mindset work. It's survival work. Because once your identity shifts, everything else follows effortlessly. You'll notice you stop forcing trades. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop chasing wins. You start being the trader you've always wanted to be. It's no longer an act. It's who you are. It's who you are.